Hello and welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. I'm Giles Alderson, and right now is the busiest time for me. There's lots of shoots going on, there's lots of stuff to do, and I've got the world premiere of my movie Food for Thought on Friday. Therefore, this episode's a little bit late because I haven't got time to edit it and do the intro, but I'm doing it now. So let's get straight to it. Let's not mess around. We are joined today by the acclaimed filmmaker, Nick Hamm. I sit down with him and delve deep into his diverse career, from his early days in theatre, we touch on that, to his incredible work in film and television. We discuss his knack for discovering talent, like Keira Knightley, his passion for bringing complex stories to life, and the challenges of directing everything from intimate dramas to historical epics. We talk about being in director jail, working with Harvey Weinstein, buying the rights to a project, making The Hole, which made millions for people, getting wined and dined by Hollywood, and raising finance. And of course, we'll be discussing his bold, epic new take on the iconic story of William Tell, which stars Klaus Bang and Ben Kingsley. How do you reimagine a classic tale for a modern audience? What does it take to film that legendary Apple scene? And what message does this timeless story hold for today's world? Right, get ready for a conversation with a master storyteller. I'm Giles Alderson, and this is our chat with Nick Hamm.
Load thy bow, and make thee ready to shoot an apple from your son's head.
You think we're safe here? God has long forgotten us.
This is about our freedom, our families.
I'll leave them naked and trembling before me.
Fight for us. We will do it as one.
And now it begins.
Kill them! Who are you?
William Tell.
Your heavy hand has created a hero.
He is one man!
Your ignorant abuses have increased resistance. Raise an army.
Prepare for war.
We will take back our homes, our town, and our country. We will summon up our skills in battle. And we will teach our enemy how we war!
We're all with you, Tell.
Your heads will be on pikes. You're finished.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Nick, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for joining us, man. Thank
No,
you.
pleasure.
I really loved William Tell. I thought it was a fantastically brilliant movie. The action was just incredible as well. I mean, it just must be such a joy now getting that sort of feedback straight away from people saying how good these scenes are. I mean, it's really well made.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, it's always good to, you know, when you have an idea of something and then you can actualize it rather than just dream it, which is the difference between sitting in your bedroom thinking maybe I should do this, and then somebody else does it, and actually doing it. and then it working. And I think it's for me, it's the product of a lot of lifetime experience of working of being a director, to be quite honest with you, of not just being in the film director, but also being in the theater for such a long time, and also doing stuff on TV. So there's a kind of learning curve. I think I wouldn't have been able to make this movie 10 years ago. I remember the first movie I ever did I worked for Harvey Weinstein for years. He had me on a contract for like 10, 15 years, and he owned everything I ever did.
I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and when I was in my mid-30s, he kind of basically bought us.
Was
And
that with like the very thought of you and
yeah,
Talk
that
of
was
Angels?
exactly that. But before even that, I did a movie for him. You know, I just
Oh.
done these TV shows which had done very well, and then he put me on this massive Spanish Civil War movie. Which
Right.
you know how long I was on it for? After shooting, I was on 3.5 years.
No.
3.5 years. I think when I first screened it for him, I think, you know, we ended up having this enormous. I mean, it was a disaster from the beginning to end because I wasn't capable of dealing with that canvas, and I think ambition can sometimes outstrip ability. And I think, you know, that as a young director, you never realize that you're ambitious about everything. You think you can make anything. You make sci-fi, comedy, thriller. You're brilliant. You know, at 29, 32, 33, 35, you're brilliant.
Yeah.
At 5, you realize you're not brilliant.
You realize you've got slight flaws, and actually we can't
flaws, and actually maybe
achieve
you
that.
couldn't do this subject matter unless you really know what you're doing.
Yes. God, that's so interesting. Looking back now, what do you think it was? Not only the youth thing as well, and believing you could do that, but also what else went wrong now for you? Do you think, as a director looking back, what would you have changed? Basically, I suppose?
You learn at the beginning, and I've done the whole. You know, we all do Hollywood, we all do that. At the beginning in your career as a director, you're so flattered to be offered anything to do with movie making that, you know, you believe that the people who are giving you the money to make those films know what they're talking about. Well, they fucking don't. All right, ever. Okay, let's start there. Ever. They've employed you because they think you do, but sometimes they've employed, and this is what happens a lot of the time with young directors, and they get employed because the person employing them thinks, they're great, and they're brilliant at this, and they're energetic, and they've got a lot, and that's what you're buying, and then they kill it. Then they destroy it. And what you go through as a young director sometimes is you absolve yourself of responsibility because everybody answers for you. In other words, you'll think that you're going to employ somebody because somebody else has said employ them. You're going to write something because somebody else, an executive or a producer or somebody, has said do that. Employ that lighting director. Employ that costume designer. And you don't understand sometimes your own strengths, and you don't understand, and you sell those strengths. That's the trouble. And you can get really burnt. And so anybody's, you know, to talk about career as a director is nonsense. There is no such thing as a career. There's no A, B, C, D, right? You go A, B, C's a failure, and you're back to A.
Got ya.
And unless you've got an experience and an understanding of actually decades of work and knowing, okay, I know how to work with actors. I know how to do visual effects. I know what cameraman I want to work with on this. I know you learn all this stuff. So you're better at your job. You're just simply better at it. You lose a bit of the energy, but you gain a lot of knowledge. And filmmaking is knowledge.
I love that, Nick. That's so well put and so interesting to hear as well. How did you get out of that loop, if you like? Was The Hole involved in that as well, the film The Hole? Or was that when you'd come out the other side of it? Or was it all part of it?
That was interesting because The Hole is what I wanted to do. So in terms of Harvey, Harvey arrived, and he was, you know, I say this with all understanding of what Harvey represented later on, but everybody rewrites history in the movie business. Okay, everybody. And this is not a conversation about Harvey Weinstein, but it's a conversation about acknowledging that Harvey Weinstein changed the nature of independent filmmaking in America and in Europe while he was working. And he demanded and set up a market, and he bought directors. So a lot of us got bought or owned or dealed in a way. And we worked for him in a way which was different to working with anybody else. And the energy you got from that experience was brutal, literally brutal, but at the same time inspiring. And some of us died, and never returned. And some of us succeeded and kept going. And some of us died, succeeded, and kept going in different ways. But there was a whole tranche, especially at that moment, of British directors of a certain age and of a certain time, who were all in our mid-30s, late 30s at that moment when Harvey was coming to the UK and essentially putting us all on deals. And so you can die as a director. I don't know why we keep talking about this, but you can.
No, it's important.
You can fail miserably, and then you have to pick yourself up and go again. And you can be, as we all know, you can go to director jail.
Mm-hmm.
Director jail is a real thing. People put into it. No, you're not on that list anymore. You were on that list. A week ago, you were at top of the bloody list. Now you're off the list entirely. You're nowhere near the list, and there's somebody else on the list. Because it's a ferocious mentality in the world of finance, in the world of production, and in the world of Hollywood. It's a very, very acutely uncomfortable environment to navigate, and you only learn it through experience, and nobody guides you through it. So you can have massive success and think that you're Bergman and Spielberg combined, and the next day you can't get a job.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it? And maybe that's why TV is the platform that a lot of directors are moving to as well, because of that as well, because it is so unpredictable in the indie filmmaking world, and it can be so tricky to navigate. But you've navigated both. You know, you've done TV and film, and you have navigated. How did you get out of the hole? I was going to say, how did you get out the hole? How did you get out the other side?
I did the first. The Hole was going to be the first movie I was going to do, and I wanted to do it. I think I was doing it with Eric at Working Title, and we were trying to do it, and it folded so many times. But there was an example on The Hole that I always remember the reason for this. It was I owned the book myself. When I was young, I bought the rights myself on the book, and I only ever gave a film company 6 months. So in other words, because a lot of the projects and a lot of writers and directors will tell you the same thing. Some of their greatest work, right, that they've spent years on, they've sold and they've never made.
Yep.
But with The Hole, I managed to navigate a situation where he wouldn't allow me to do that movie at the beginning. So he put me on this massive historical epic, as I was talking about, and put me in the cutting room for 3.5 years. And the movie died a death. And it was a beautiful film. I mean, in many respects, lovely actors, great time, but I wasn't ready for it. So I went to director jail pretty quickly, as you do. And by the way, with him as well, because once you fail with Harvey Weinstein, you failed. Like, oh, we still love you. No, we don't. You failed. Right? But the moment I started on The Hole, the moment I went back and dug myself in and said, look, I'm going to make this for $2.5 million.
I'm going to make it myself.
Right? And we shot it down at Brace Studios. I knew that was a work that I wanted to do more than anything. And that movie made so much money for everybody. And do you know how much money I made on that picture? Less than $100,000 for the entire movie.
Wow.
Okay. And it's made millions for people over the years, being replicated in different ways. All right. So, but that was an example of how you can believe in something so massively, knowing that you've got this. I knew what I was going to do with that picture. I knew how to make that movie, and I knew that movie would actually make and I was actually just talking to an associate 2 seconds ago about it. You know, the opening weekend of that movie in England now, if you got the numbers that you got on that now, you'd be very happy.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And then, of course, you get offered every single thriller and every single horror movie. It's in Hollywood. You get flown in, you get the limos, you get all the rest of it, you get sent out, you get all this, and you can make some decisions. And then, but it was a genre that I didn't want to keep replicating, so I wanted to change. Yeah,
and how did you manage to raise that finance then? If you're going, I'm going to do this myself, were you just kind of speaking to, like you said there, Eric Fellner? Was you kind of like, right, here's what we're going to do? We're going to do.
I think Eric had dropped out by that point.
Oh, he dropped out, right? Okay.
No, we went to Granada and Granada Television.
Really?
Put some cash in. Yeah. Cafe at that point they were a decent film company, you know. since he sold their soul to the devil now and gone and worked for gone and sold the Warner Brothers. I mean, they were a brilliant piece. They were run really well. They were a great operation, and they were making independent films. And we scrabbled around this budget. It was a bunch of kids playing it, you know, Keira Knightley and Thora Birch and, you know, all of these kids in the movie. They were sort of, you know, they were nothing to cast, and it took place in a big, massive thing in Embrace Studios. So you could just about scrabble your money together to get to put that there. But the concept of the movie and the way it worked, and I really liked the psychology of the film. I liked the way that I was dealing with horror, but through psychology rather than through scares.
Yes, and it comes across so well, and it still holds up as a brilliant movie. And it was one of the first times I'd heard of you as a filmmaker, in terms of, for me and my journey, and then certainly Killing Bono after that was sort of a big sort of, for me, as like another Nick Hamm film is hanging around. It's like, oh great, we've got to go see that. what was and maybe let's come back to this, because I'd love to talk about William Tell first for timing, and obviously Piers Tempest you've worked with quite a lot over the years. How did William Tell come about? Was it you'd always wanted to make historical action like this, obviously taking away the Harvey Weinstein version and saying, hey, I want to do this version? And William Tell is a great topic that's never been done, I think. Anyway, I've certainly not seen it, and I was joyful when I heard this was happening and you were making it. So tell us about how it came about.
The point I've known about this because I was in the theatre for 10 years at the Royal Shakespeare Company in my 20s. So I knew about this as a play, right? Yeah. Written by Friedrich Schiller. And I knew it was also unperformable as a play, because it's hugely, early 19th century drama is very difficult to put on the stage at this particular moment. But I always aware of this story, and I was fascinated about it, about why it's, why it never done? Why nobody has ever done it, apart from there was an old black and white TV show years ago, and there was a kind of, you know, versions of the play put on screen, but no one's ever taken the legend, the European legend. I thought, well, rather than, you know, I went back into the play, read it again, broke it down, and then started to write it to see if I could adapt so Schiller wrote the play in 1807. Right. The legend starts in middle of the 14th century.
Yes.
So here you've got a story that is set in the 14th century, written by a brilliant German playwright in the early 19th, and put on in film by a filmmaker in the 21st century. Yeah. So you've got this like 600-700 years of European history around this one story. Why has it survived? Why is it still there? What are people? And do you know what it was? It was the apple seed.
The apple seed.
I wanted to do the apple seed. Yeah. When I started to analyze that scene, I thought, wow, this is the most incredible piece of drama.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really like just the possibilities of what you can do with this very simple scene, which is directly and cleanly about a public execution of a young boy. And yet the moral complications of that scene are enormous. Every character in the movie is central, is in the scene. And it's a scene which involves, which is about, in many respects, political terrorism in its naked form. Yeah. It's an act of political terror. It's making this man kill his son publicly so that I will achieve the power and he won't. And there's an equivalency in our current world of men in jumpsuits getting their throat cut in the desert and then being put on social media. So there's nothing rosy about that scene. There's nothing, even though the engravings from the early, 200 years ago show with feathers in caps and fat men on it and all the rest of it. It's all of that. Sometimes the beauty of history disguises the ugliness of history. And the ugliness of that moment, it just had to be put on cinema. And I was determined to be the person that put that scene in cinema. And that scene's going to last for decades in cinema. That one scene, but I know that when you go and look at that scene, you're going to go and use that movie as a reference.
I totally agree. And that scene it's so built up so well. The way like you said, every character has a moment in it. Everything has a meaning behind it, which is really nice. And what I really liked, it wasn't your ending. It wasn't the moment of the film. It was part of the film. It was just a moment in time that needed to move the story forward, which made it even more, emotional and impactful as well. And that's really clever, because someone, again, maybe in the past might have said, no, this is what you need to do. The story needs to end with him saving the boy. Or start. Yes.
Start. All right. The whole pressure. Put it at the beginning because it's the great scene. They're all kind of, they want to see what happened with the apple. No. You start with a teaser and then let people, and the beginning, the first hour of the movie is a little slow, but it's slow on purpose.
Right.
It's slow on purpose because it makes you get involved with the characters.
Yes.
The entire characterization of when you work with, when you're in that world, you want to identify with all those characters in that moment. And unless you understand their particular concerns, their history, their relationships, it won't have any value. And so you've spent 45 minutes, 50 minutes in that movie waiting for the apple seeds. Like everyone knows the Titanic sinks.
Yes, it's coming.
Everyone knows the kid doesn't get shot. These movies are quite hard to make if the narrative of the movie, I mean, I defy anybody to go to that movie and go, by the way, did the kid actually get an arrow through his head? No. All right.
Defying conventions. Imagine if you had gone, oh no, I've just changed the every
I
child.
changed actually. The
just
kid
changed
died.
It. Yeah, he died. Yeah,
or,
not true.
So you're dealing with something which is profoundly fascinating, incredibly electric in terms of drama. And if you can then just capture that on screen, if you can find a way of doing that, which gives them, it's a 20-minute scene. No, it's 20 minutes.
Didn't feel it. That's interesting.
Right.
Wow.
And it's like, and I think the first cut of it was 45 minutes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. The first cut, that particular scene was 45 minutes almost, or maybe 40 minutes. So it was all about thinning to get the essence of the moment. And the way we shot it was we rehearsed the hell out of it with all the actors, and the actors played 5 or 6 minutes at a time. So they could all run the whole moments of the scene together, and they could all interact with each other.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll come back to how your directing style in a little bit. Let's just jump to the actual getting it from an idea, you writing it, to getting it made here. Had you already got peers on board at this point? Had you got the rest of the team on board? What was the plan? Did you have one, or was it kind of a case of, look, I want to tell this story, I'm going to write it and then see what happens? What was your process here?
But a bit of both, to be honest with you. Piers and I have done pretty much everything together over the last 10, 15 years. So Piers Tempest has been a kind of my producing partner. And we knew that we were going to kind of try and make this massive picture in a different budget level to the stuff that we'd done before. And so we needed to get a screenplay, because no one, if you say to somebody, I want to do William Tell, yeah, sure, okay, bye.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You have to go and write. And then I wanted to get a writer to write it, because I'm not necessarily, a writer, but all the great writers, most of the time, are always booked. And they go,
and expensive.
And expensive, but more time booked. I mean, they're busy. So I'll do it in 2 years. No. So I had to write it. I had to adapt. And in that sense, that was liberating in lots of different ways as well, because it's completely organic. So it was all on me to just try and make that script work and adapt what I wanted from the play and bring in a kind of cinematic approach to it. And once I got it there, it was easy to put in front of people. Now, then we went to conventional, went through the normal LA route, where you basically go, through your agent, Warner Brothers, New Line, will you read it? Apple, will you? Yeah, we love it. Get Leo. Get
one of the Chris's.
Yeah. And we'll come back. Like, everything they say is go and get a movie star. Well, yeah, of course you can do that. And then you're in movie star hell, because then you're waiting for a movie star to become a free and then keep that commitment. So what happens a lot of the time with very big actors is they'll book into a project 2 years ahead. But 2 years is a long time in our business. 2 days is a long time in our business.
Yeah.
Right? That bloke or a woman could have 4 failures in that time. And 2 years ahead, they're no longer bankable, or they've become hugely successful, or they've had they've changed. The reliability you have sometimes on that relationship can kill your movie. Tons of people have died because of that. because a movie happens at a moment, as you well know. You talk to a lot of filmmakers. There's a moment when you can make it. There's a moment when that actor is available, and guess what? The money is available to do it right now, but the money's not available in a year.
Yep. Yeah. It's so interesting.
That's how our business operates.
Yes, it is. It's almost like you need to go now. We're moving. Here's the date. This is what we need. And like waiting for a movie star on a potential maybe when they're free is luckily I've never been, or unluckily never been that high up where I'm waiting for a huge star. But I can imagine it's just very draining. Imagine you're just like, 6 months has passed. A year's passed and you're still waiting. Or maybe they'll do it by this day, or worse, they've said yes, and then, like you say, later on they just get too big and say, "Oh no, I'm doing this first, or I can't do it anymore." Very frustrating. Very frustrating.
That's the way.
That's the way. So in this case, you had that kind of play date where you go, "Hey, we're going to go get a star," and then at the same time, your cast is huge and full of amazing, brilliant, up and coming and stars. Anyway, So did you then go, "All right, well, in the meantime, I'm going to do this"?
I just basically went, look, the way to do this is to go and raise the funds as much as you can in an independent way, against sales, as we normally do. What's the shortfall on that? What's the equity you need to get to make you play in the world? And what can you get from tax? And that essentially is how films are put together. Those three elements: your sales figures, your equity play, whether that's a studio, whether that's an investment company, or what are you going to get back in the tax? And those three elements allow you to then put a budget together.
And at that point, you're not only going out to people like Ben Kingsley yourself.
Those kind of actors you go to when you're ready, okay, and you give them a date. And you don't. There's no point in being speculative. I mean, most good actors are like that. They want to know when you want to do it. How are you going to do it? What are you going to get paid? And how long am I going to be involved for? And if you can give those dates and you can make that acceptable and accommodate people in that way, then you stand a chance. What a lot of actors hate is a kind of nebulous, look, well, I'll try and get it together. Well, and also they hate putting themselves on projects that don't get made.
Yeah, of course. Yep. Attached to another project that hasn't gone anywhere.
They don't like it. And they're right. Because if they put their names on projects that don't get made, they get nervous about their own bankability.
Yeah, their name gets around as in, they're attached to anything these days. Yes. And which isn't great. So which makes it really difficult for us as directors or even producers in this world to then hang on to anyone and sort of play that game of which is coming first. In your case, which did come first? Did you manage to go, okay, well, we've got enough sales? I had
enough to start the process and start physically making and getting on with making the movie. And then it was about going to Italy and decide, because, if you're going to do what effect of what we call the sword and sandals, in other words, people, moving around wearing fur and shooting and stabbing each other, then there are a few countries in the world where they can do it. The Brits do it really well. We do fur and castles incredibly well. All right. That's what our trademark is. And the Americans come here and buy it from us a lot. Exactly. But so do the Italians. And the Italians do it with the same. And I wanted that sort of, and also the Italian, so we shot it in Cinecittà. We built the studio in Cinecittà in Rome. We built that whole set.
Did you? I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, because the Apple scene itself needed to be in that one location. We built the town, and then we went up to the mountains in northern Italy to shoot all the exteriors, because the mountains in the story have a certain majesty and a certain kind of, I guess, a beauty that you need to put into the picture. Otherwise, you're kind of, you can't shoot that on against a blue screen in Pinewood. The actor himself or herself needs to feel what it's like to be at a few thousand feet above sea level and try and walk 10 feet in the snow.
Yes.
Right? Because that determines performance.
Yeah, it totally does. It changes everything.
Right. It changes everything. So performance is everything. Performance is the only thing you're interested in. If you're a director like me who's fascinated by what an actor can and can bring and can add.
Yes. Yeah. And did you also shoot in Switzerland as well? Is that right? Or
no,
it was all in Italy.
Yeah, we looked at Switzerland from the Italian Alps.
Yeah, and can see them.
Of the mountain across the road was Switzerland, because that whole area has changed hands, so many times in history. It's been Italian, it's been Swiss, it's been, the Alps have moved around. I think the Italian, it's Alto Adigio. I think it's a weird story that I can't remember now. I think, Hitler gave it to Mussolini. I was like, oh no, yeah. That's like,
there you go, little gift.
I think he did. He said, okay, here's or Mussolini. No, Mussolini gave it back to Hitler. That was right. Gave it back, and they then made the German language it became kind of illegal in that period. So the Italians and so the German was spoken in an underground way for many years. And there's always that tension in the north of Italy as to, is it Germany or is it Italy?
Yes, which must have been fascinating to shoot there and especially build a set there. I mean, I wanted to talk to you about your production design because it was stunning. And I'm so glad that you said you built that. Was some of it real? Was any of the sort of, and obviously the mountains and stuff, but any of the other castles or any of the other bits?
All the castles are real, yeah. Because it's full of castles. I mean, they beat the shit out of each other in the Middle Ages. All right, they were forever building castles. Go to the north of Italy. There's more castles. There's more castles than in the north of England. All right, the plethora of medieval junk in that area of Europe is enormous. Wow. And so you need that. You need. Yes. And I didn't want to shoot Warwick Castle or Northern Ireland, whichever. I wanted to shoot a world which had never been, has really very rarely been seen, and I wanted a kind of a vision of the film which was sort of Sound of Music but with violence.
Oh, I love the way you said that. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought.
It's like got a kind of Kodak 1950s kind of realism, which is beautiful and strange and odd and not very contemporary. And yet underneath it, it's got real violence. And that's what the DP and I did together. We wanted this color because when you go to the mountains, there's color. And I'm so bored of every single period movie being put through the kind of the awful
cleansing. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like this. It's what used to be called bleach bypass in the old days. It's got this, but it's not called anymore. Everybody's blue, everybody's green, everybody's grey.
Gladiator.
The greyness that somehow that wasn't the truth. The truth was it's gorgeous. It's utterly stunning. And within that, there's incredible violence.
Yeah, that's great. Jamie Ramsey was your cinematographer, obviously done all of The Strangers and Living and District 9. Have you worked with Jamie before?
I haven't, but the two of us will work a lot together in the future. He's one of the most fascinating directors of photography I've ever come across. There's a kind of, in real terms, and I've worked with like literally dozens and dozens over the years. There's an optimism. There's an understanding of photography, which is fantastic. And I also knew I wanted somebody who had a real physical ability, which Jamie has with the camera. So he's fantastic as an. So I knew I needed someone to carry that camera and move fast through those woods or move up that hill, and who would have the energy to take his team with him, because a lot of that is shot with a moving lens, And I think that there's a whole bunch of DPs coming through now who are just kind of electric in what they're starting to do. And the technology that they've got available now, it far outstrips anything that was gone before. And so, we've got he's a great photographer. That's
great to know. Yeah, I like my DPs to be on the camera as well. I'm happy to move it around, happy to put it on the shoulder, and I think it just creates a different kind of atmosphere and feeling, and also to put it down when they need to. But I think that's great, and to find someone you connect with is so important.
But it's hard.
It's really hard. It's really hard. What do you pitch? When you're speaking to any of your crew, from your gaffers, your production designers, your cinematographers, what is it you're actually, how have you got decks? Do you just visually?
Yeah, I mean, tons of visual stuff, obviously, as you always do, but mainly what you're talking about is, and this is what you learn as an older director, to employ the right people. Surround yourself with the right people. When you don't do that and you try and do their jobs, you're finished. You know, your best work is done when everybody around you is at the top of their game as much as possible. So that you're all working towards a common cause, but their ability to actualize that or dramatize that or make that costume or build that set. And what you've got in Italy is a craft, is like you've got in the UK. You've got an entire, this is what people don't understand about movies sometimes, is you go to where the skill sets are, right? Now, you can go cheap. You can go somewhere else, I'm not mentioning any names, and you can get a better tax relief. But guess what? Your movie's going to look like shit because the set's going to wobble and the actor's going to be in a terrible state because they don't trust anything that's happening in the. So if you work with craftsmen, and in Italy, there's a belief in cinema. There's a real still passion about the notion of quote cinema. They believe in it. The fact is, the awful thing is they fucking talk though when you call action.
Oh no, do they?
Yeah, I was told about this before I started shooting in Rome, and they're actually true. As soon as you say action, boom, and then half the crew start babbing away and saying it's because they dub all their movies.
Oh, so they don't. Yeah, they're
used to dubbing everything, so they don't care. What? So you're constantly saying, "Dudes, hold on a second. Do you mind? We love you. All right, just fucking keep quiet."
But also, that's so disrespectful for the actors. And
the actors are nuts. The actors would regularly go, whoa, let's stop.
Yeah, of course.
Hold on. Wait a second. Why is he talking? The AD or whatever would have to explain in Italy. And so you'd have to shout in Italian to all the Italians who would then start shouting at each other.
Yeah.
Like a massive opera would happen, at which time the take had completely diffused and you'd have to start all over again. Certain benefits and certain,
I love that. That's incredible. I had the visuals of that. Okay, that's really interesting how you talk to your crew that way. Same when you work with your actors then, because there's some beautiful moments in this film and across your work, by the way, but we will talk about William Tell the most here. Because it's, I made a Arthur and Merlin movie in Wales, so we did use a castle over in Wales. And to get performances when people are welding swords or it's raining, which it did pretty much every day, can be really tricky.
Yeah.
You had a lot of rain in this movie. You had a lot of emotions happening while a lot of other things were happening and going on.
Yeah.
How do you focus that energy to be in the right place where you need it to be to tell your story?
Just because you learn that, as you know, that, look, you're not making the whole film in one day. You're making 2 minutes in one day, or you're making 3 minutes, or you're making 4 minutes, or you're making 1 minute. So your focus is on just getting that at that. You're going up that mountain to get that shot at that moment, and that's going to be 1/8 of a page. And therefore, in the afternoon, you're going to have to come back down the valley and shoot 4 pages of dialogue so that you've made up for the fact that you've gone up the mountain. Yeah. So there's an example in the movie. There's a shot in the film where the horse is riding through the fog, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this most beautiful organic piece where we're right at the top. You wouldn't know it. But we're way thousands of feet above sea level on the top of a mountain. And it's the first time you're supposed to see where Tell lives. Right. And you're supposed to see it in this beautiful way with the sun shining and this beautiful thing. And so it's the first day of filming up in the mountains. So we've taken 400 people up a mountain, okay, with bases all the way through, in stages. So, there's only 30 people at the very top, and there's trucks and things planted all the way. It's an enormous logistical effort. It's a military effort to get there, and we've got 1 day to get the thing. So what happens? We arrived at the decision, and the mist is there, and you can't see 2 feet. You literally can't. It's not just fog; it's beautiful mist, and it's beautiful. So we wait, and then we go, you know what? Let's just not shoot this scene. And I think, and this is the advantage of sometimes writing and actually just being a writer as well as a director, that I just shot a different scene. I went to the actors and I said, let's not make this scene do this now because it's not going to play. Let's shoot this scene, the arrival of when he comes back. Let's shoot this, because if we shoot this in this way, we'll half this, we'll move that bit over there, and you'll get this imagery, which is beautiful. And you couldn't create that. So in other words, you couldn't create that fog that's in that shot.
No, for sure.
You're never going to get that mist. You'll never get, there's a billion smoke machines that would be required to do that. And they would never be synchronized in the right way.
Yeah.
So that's an example of filmmaking absolutely organically working with the subject matter and working with the moment that you're trying to achieve. And the beauty of that moment is peace and gentility amongst horror. And that's what and it does that role within the picture.
And that's great filmmaking as well, to think outside the box and sort of go, actually, let's move this here. This will work over here. And it's just, I feel like filmmaking is like that all the time. It's like compromise.
It is.
You aim for that, and then you go, well, we're going to have to do this, and this will
have to do
hopefully
this.
work. Yeah, this will hopefully work.
And sometimes those are the best moments in films.
Yes.
Accident is what you're after.
Yes.
The accident of movie making, the accident of a moment with an actor. Doing something strange or doing something like this. The accident of that is so amazing when you get that. Like in a performance, they'll do something once, just through accident. They might have done 3 takes, which would be not very good, and then suddenly something will happen. And like in the last scene with Claes, there's a beautiful moment where Claes thinks about whether or not he's going to shoot Gessler. Held the camera on him. And he only did it once. And he said, and it was brilliant. And we both looked at each other and we both went, that's really good. He said, can I do it again? I said, you can, but you've got it. And he said, let me do it again. I said, okay. And he did 3 more takes that were awful.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to act.
Were we trying to recreate the thing that
happened? But he was trying to act. You saw, because the camera will, as you know, will show you if you're cheat. Right? You can't cheat with a camera because it reveals what you are inside. Therefore, non-acting becomes interesting. Yep. The non-acting actor is the most interesting actor that you're going to find.
Yes. Yeah, Florence Pugh.
You see acting. It's just performance rather than something which is ethereal and just relatable.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of mist, there was a moment in Arthur and Merlin. I'll quickly tell this story. We were, I was filming something. It was raining all day. We were trying to get this last shot, whatever, trying to do, and everyone was done. Suddenly I heard this noise that we'd sort of wrapped, and it was all my knights. They'd stayed, and they were in the far field, far and thing, and they all started screaming, going, "You've got to come and shoot this." They were in this mist. This mist had descended across this field. It looked beautiful, and they went, "Can we shoot it?" I went, "Absolutely, get the camera here." And it's just so nice that the people would do that and sort of go, "No, this is." Because they believe in it and believe in it. Let's talk about the action, because I really enjoyed the action. Like a lot of, and it's not all the time, but a lot of these kind of movies, the action suffers because you don't have much time. The swords don't hit the right people, or there's not enough stunt people, or that you're doubling up, etc. Here, it felt like there was this. It just kept going everywhere. I was looking I was looking for stuff. So, and everywhere, even the extras were firing the back with proper kills and deaths, and it was just brilliant. Can you talk about how you plan that, how you get it on camera, and maybe it's just a day in the life of one of your big battle scenes. I know we've got to wrap up. One of your big battle scenes towards the end.
So first of all, you better get yourself a really good second unit director, okay, and a fight coordinator that you really relate to. And there's some brilliant people out there that do that. And then you board the whole thing, and you really, really strictly that you can't go into action without boarding. You can't go into creating those, and you break it up as well. You have to break up your moments. The big shots will look after themselves in some way, and that'll be down to the performance levels. But the primary thing you do is create it with this second unit director, and you create it together. And then you trust them, and you say, okay, look, go and make that better than what it is. Right. So I want this level here. He has to do this here, and he has to come across here, and she has to do that with them. So there's, a lot of this, there's a great sequence in the film where all the women fight and they become, female warriors in that sense, kind of. And, we spent days planning that, days and days and days. And so did the girls shooting it. They were ready to shoot. Like they'd rehearsed. They wanted to do it. So in other words, there was an application from the people doing the action, that they believed in the action they were doing. It was around the characters. It wasn't separate from the character. Because what happens in action movies is most action movies are terrible because you don't believe in anything you're seeing and you're not connected with the character. So there's a kind of, you're watching somebody fall out of a window or blow up a bus. You're a voyeur on it, but you're not engaged in it. So there's a difference. That's why a lot of action movies you can watch with a certain distance, right? So if you're going to try and do a movie where you combine drama with action, you want the action to have the same level of involvement as the drama. And the drama is about the characters. And so you put the characters in the action and don't make the action anything that the characters can't do. And don't make it superfluous. And you break it down and you paint it, you draw it. There's no other way of doing it. It's old fashioned, but there's no other way. And it's the correct way because it's costing you a fortune. And there's hundreds of people at play.
That's brilliant. How many days did you shoot for? Was it
10 weeks? The whole thing
10
was
weeks.
10 weeks, yeah.
Amazing. And out of that, how much action time do you think you gave?
Second unit for about 3 or 4 of those weeks. So you had a sort of second unit for about 3 weeks that could. So what you do with the second unit is they run behind you sometimes. So you'll stage the stuff. You'll stage the hero action, and I'll move on. And they will finish the scene.
Hoover up, like close-ups, bits and pieces.
Yeah, they'll do all of that. And that's the point.
I love it. I love it. Nick, this has been really incredible. Finally, a little bit of advice for filmmakers out there. We like to do this. Just, especially someone who's worked so well in this business for so long, gone through all the ups and downs.
Advice. Okay, so here's the thing. The business is changing now radically, right? The technology of the business is going to take over in a way that we've no idea about. Certainly in my generation, we're all old fuckers now. So there's a difference. So the technology is going to advance in a way which is supercharged. That technology and I'm not talking about technology in terms of just AI. I'm talking about the entire experience of how you are going to watch a film, be immersed in a film. Film's not going to be a film anymore. It's going to be it's going to be a different experience. You're going to have television. You're always going to have these things. But what's going to be fascinating for a younger generation of directors is an ability to apply themselves to that technology, but not lose the ability to tell the human stories as part of that. And that's going to be their struggle because the technology is going to tell them one thing. And I started this whole podcast by saying, never believe an executive, all right? Because they're always wrong, all right? I say that with slightly tongue in cheek.
Yeah, of course.
The same thing applies. Never believe in the technology to get you out of trouble. The technology is your tool. Learn it, understand it, but it's not you. It is a slave to you. You're not a slave to it, all right? And that's going to happen so massively for young directors in their 20s and 30s now who are coming through and learning this stuff. And own organically what you are and learn how to work with actors, okay? That's your thing. Learn how actors think, work, speak, understand each other, and give to actors because actors are your special sauce.
Nick Hamm, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure.
All right, mate.
Congratulations again.
Thanks,
Cheers,
buddy. Ciao, ciao. Nice to speak to you.
And you. Bye-bye.